You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Welcome into RBLR Lightning. My name is Chris. We got another great show planned here for you tonight. And along with me for the ride is my main man, Jake Ricker. Mr. Jake Ricker, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well, Chris. The Lightning are on a roll right now. They've been playing very well as of late, enjoying the Lightning finally getting into their good old form. It's been a lot of fun to watch and excited to talk some more hockey.
Yeah, and definitely a good week, man. You know, we got some cooler weather here in Tampa, so feeling the cooler weather with the way the Lightning are playing, it was definitely been a pretty solid week overall. So getting into some news here, obviously, you know, we lost Chernak for a little bit, kind of a bummer there. Kind of seemed to be really injury bitten this year, you know, along with the Bucks too. But just seems like it's just Tampa's time for their teams to start getting hurt, and seems that we're always losing key guys at the wrong time, and somehow we still find a way to pull out those wins. So I think it says a lot about this team being without Chernak, you know, for a couple games here. Some kind of an update on it. Chernak could be ready to return by next week, according to Cooper today, depending on his progress. Jake, how do you feel about, since Chernak's been out, how do you feel the Lightning have looked so far?
They've actually done a really good job filling in for him, which is always good to see. You know, Lightning did a good job of getting defensive depth this offseason. You know, they have Zach Bogosian, who is typically the sixth defender. You have Cal Foote, who recently came back from injury as well. And then you, of course, have Andre Schuster, who's actually played pretty well for the games that he's played and currently down in Syracuse right now. So, you know, losing Erik Cernak obviously was a bummer. He'd been playing really good this season as well. He's really come into his own this season, but you know, the Lightning have done a good job at filling in for him, and luckily it sounds like you mentioned, he's going to come back sooner rather than later. We thought this injury was going to be a little bit worse than it was, and the fact that he could come back sometime next week is a really good sign for the Lightning.
Yeah, and I think we've filled in the void pretty well, because obviously losing a guy like him, it's definitely a bummer, man. Like you said, Chernak's been having a really good season, and him and McDonough together last year in the playoffs really shut down a lot of the top lines we faced. So let's hope that we can get Cernak back here sooner rather than later. Man, last night, obviously you saw Anthony Cirelli, man, that puck to the face, you know, and he I don't know if everyone saw that picture or not, but man, he's a tough SOB, man. He's face is all busted up, you know, bloody nose. His nose is completely swollen, you know, just an accident, stuff like that happens. But man, these hockey players are really tough. I feel like if that was like LeBron James, he'd be out for the season. I know Cirelli took a body maintenance day today, and I'm sure he'll be back Thursday for Philadelphia. But were you able to see the picture of Cirelli, Jake?
I did. That was quite the nose swelling that he had on his face. That poor guy. It was funny. A lot of people were making jokes there saying, like, you know, I can't figure out why Anthony Cirelli is not at practice today. Oh, wait, maybe that's why when you look at the picture. But, you know, hey, that's the the stereotype, if you will, that hockey players get, and Cirelli is living right up to it. It's, take a puck to a face and, you know, be ready to go right back out there, possibly for the next game, is just shows the toughness there. That's never a fun thing to do. I'm sure he was very sore today and not feeling great, but the good news is it doesn't look like there was any super serious extensive damage, so he should be okay.
Yeah, and like you said, it just goes to show how tough these guys are, and this happens to them, you know, night in and night out, and usually they come back and play with some serious injuries. So I'm hoping Cirelli's okay. You know, it's kind of cool. They got the first. Go ahead.
And no one would blame them if Cirelli was out for the next day or two. No one would say a word because he just took a puck to the face. But these guys, yet they still come back, which is crazy.
It's really cool, and it just goes to show, it makes me like the sport even more, man. It's just respect to these players who could sit out and sit down, but they'd rather get back out there and get on the ice and play the sport they're paid to play. So I obviously I hope Cirelli comes back healthy and ready to go Thursday night. And one more thing, man. How about Vasilevsky the past 8 games? 5-0-3. He really seems to be locked in. That goals against is under a 2. So, and when Vasi's locked in, man, good things happen. And that's what's been happening these past couple games that we'll get to here in a second. But I just wanted to take a second and give a shout out to Vasio, because a lot of people were bashing him those first couple games in. I said it was going to take time for this new team, these new lines, these new guys to get going together. And I think things have started to come together slowly. And when those things come together, I think it gives Vasi a lot of confidence. And like we always say, Vasi wants to go out there and play night in and night out. He gives you 100% night in and night out. He doesn't like to let goals into the net. You can see him get frustrated. So for him to go 5-0-3 in these past 8 games is, I mean, that's wonderful, especially in this kind of league going into overtime, 3 overtime losses, but that's okay. I'm okay getting to overtime and getting a point. Those 3-on-3s, they're really tough. If your defense breaks down, it's an odd man rush, and sometimes those goals end up going in. But how are you feeling about Bassi right now, Jake? Have you seen anything from him that's just really making him stand out in these past 8 games?
Tell you what, it's not Vasilevsky in net. It's Vesnilevsky that's in net right now. He's been playing unreal. And you mentioned seen anything that makes him stand out? Yeah, there's a couple of ridiculous saves that come to mind, like the one against Florida, which we'll get into a little more when we talk about that game. But he, just again and again, just does things that I don't understand how he can physically do. I mean, the way he bends his body and is so flexible and is able to track the puck even with a ton of traffic in front of him it's unbelievable. I don't know how he does it. It's truly amazing. And, a lot of the times I wonder where these last few Lightning teams would be if we didn't have Andrei Vasilevsky. I mean, we've seen, over the last couple of years since Domingue, really, even with Domingue a little bit too, backup goaltenders never really did super well. So it's not like it's always the defense that's, bailing out Vasilevsky. It's Vasilevsky bailing out the team more often than not. So it's unbelievable what he does. It's really hard to put into words, honestly.
Yeah, it's shout out to Vasi, man. Night in, night out, like we say. I'm happy that he's on our team. I wouldn't want him to be anywhere in the league. I would not want to play against him. I'm just glad he's a Bolt, and I hope he can stay a Bolt forever. And then some other quick news that I forgot to mention was the Lightning finally got our team name engraved into the Stanley Cup. Nothing crazy, but it's still really cool. It solidifies the season that we had. It locks us into history. Got to see a picture up close, looked really good. Obviously, this is pretty cool, Jake, right? To get our names finally engraved on the cup and solidify that the past season we had.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially in a back-to-back year, it's not hard to find the names from last year this time. And right now, the Lightning actually have 3 all on the cup right now. As I'm sure most people know, when it comes time, when the ring gets filled up, they can actually remove those rings and take them off, and they go put them in the Hockey Hall of Fame. So as the team's win gets older, it eventually moves off of the Stanley Cup physically, but into the Hockey Hall of Fame. But right now, the Lightning have all 3 of their Stanley Cup victories engraved on the Stanley Cup, which is pretty cool. And hopefully, we can get a 4th one on there.
That would be awesome, man. That would be cool. I'm definitely hoping that is the outcome this year. So as we transition here into some of these games, that these past 3 games we had that first game against Carolina, and going into these games, I was worried because these are some tough teams. We talked about the gauntlet we had to run through. It's the same guys, same teams we played in the playoffs last year. So these teams want revenge, and this Carolina team or game, I should say, was not our best performance in the slightest, and the one thing I was completely frustrated with during this game was the power play, because it was absolutely abysmal. I mean, we were 0 for 4. I think we had 1, maybe 2 shots on the power play, if that. We just couldn't get anything going. Couldn't even get in the blue line to get in Carolina's zone. To go 0 for 4 and to take them to overtime and lose only by a goal and get a point. I don't know if that's luck on our side or just Vasi bailing us out again, like he does night in, night out when our offense disappears and decides not to show up on the ice. But the power play in this game was atrocious, and I think that's really what resulted in us losing this game. I do think we put up a good fight against Carolina. They outshot us 31-18. They really crushed us in most stats, minus blocks. But I think overall, I think we played well minus the power play. We kept it competitive. We kept it close, obviously taking it to OT, and it's a bummer to lose. But we did get a point out of it, a little bit of a confidence booster, got a couple nights off, and then we moved into Florida. So I'll ask you here, Jake, how did you feel about this Carolina game? Are you on the same boat with me on the power play for this game? Were you as frustrated as I was?
Yeah, well, this game I was extremely upset over at the end of it, and I'll get into why in just a second. But yes, the power play was frustrating, but you kind of expected that almost because the Lightning power play just hasn't been good since Kucherov went down. They have gotten better recently, which we'll get into with the next couple of games. But the big thing for me that drove me nuts in this game is obviously we all know the Lightning went up early 1-0 in the second period, and they had a lead for majority of this game. And it wasn't until Carolina got a power play off Steven Stamkos, quote unquote, pushing into the goaltender, when he actually got pushed into the goaltender by one of the own Carolina players, and they called Stamkos for goaltender interference. I don't understand how the officials can keep making some of these calls. And this is the second goaltender interference that's hurt the Lightning. Last time it was Stamkos getting pushed into the net again, but it took away a Lightning goal when Matthew Joseph scored. That was against Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. And then on this one, again, it's a bad call. Because it's nothing much Stamkos can do when he's getting pushed into the goaltender. He can't move out of the way. He tried, but it's just bang, bang play, and then the Lightning have to go to the penalty kill, and Carolina ends up scoring and tying this game. So it's a game that, I'd sit there and argue that the Lightning probably should have won. It should never even gone into overtime. Now, again, I'm someone that says all the time, you can't blame the officials for losses. Good teams find good ways to win. You mentioned the power play. If they would have converted on some of those power plays, that would have never been an issue. But this was an extremely frustrating loss just because the Lightning were beating the Hurricanes, who are an extremely good team this year. Only, one loss on regulation at that point. So it was just really frustrating. And obviously the Lightning should have capitalized on their power play chances and not been in that position in the first place. But that was an atrocious call by the officials, and it's a game that should have never gone to overtime in the first place.
Yeah, and you're right. You mentioned that interference call, and I kind of forgot about that since you've had a couple games. But yeah, that was definitely a bad call. And I say it all the time. I hate to blame officiating. I feel like you shouldn't have to blame officiating for a loss. I don't like to do that, but that call definitely led to some momentum for Carolina, and like you said, to be able to get that goal late. Unfortunately, it's a bad call. I know it happens, but it seems like it always happens to Stamkos or the Lightning in general.
It's the second time for Stamkos on a goaltender interference call, and they scored on the ensuing power play. I mean, and how many times this has happened now? A couple of times, both last year and this year, where players are getting pushed into goaltenders and are getting goaltender interference calls. We remember it happened with Braden Point in the playoffs twice last year. There was also a game recently. I think it was the Los Angeles Kings. They were playing the Blues. Same situation. A guy got pushed into the goaltender, and the guy getting pushed into the goaltender is the one that got the goaltender interference call. I don't understand how this happened so many times, and the officials still haven't got it right. So, I'll get off my soapbox here, but the Lightning did end up getting a point out of this game, which is obviously very good and helpful in the regular season. That's it's always good to at least get a point if you're going to lose the game. But I was very upset after this loss because it was a game I felt like the Lightning definitely should have won.
And it's almost like the goalie's protected like the quarterback in football type of thing. Anybody touches him or does anything, it's a flag, it's a whistle. It's sending a sign to the rest of I don't know, man. It's sending a message, whatever. But these guys are going full speed, man. They can't just stop on a dime. Sometimes there is blatant goaltender interference, and unfortunately, that was a really bad call. So it sucks. It happens. But after that, we moved on to Florida. We had a couple days off, which I think is really what we needed, because I think this Florida game, we saw a Lightning team that we had been needing to see for a long time. as far as this season goes. I think they played overall really consistently. We went up 1-0, and then we ended up giving up 2 goals back to back in the second period, and that led us to overtime, unfortunately. But man, Mr. Braden, clutch point, man, in overtime. You can always count on that guy to find a way to get open, find a way to get a good shot, and find a way to make things happen. When we need something to happen, I know Braden Point can step up and do it with his speed. Man, he's so fast. He's so fast watching him skate into the other team's zone, makes him skate backwards. And when you do that, man, he's able to get in between you and make magical things happen. So I think overall this was a really good game. This was a good confidence booster. We needed a win against a good team like Florida this year. I think overall we played well. We only had 1 penalty as far as Florida went 0 for 1 on the power play. We went 1 for 1 on the power play, so we did get a power play goal this game from Maroon early on. So it was good to see someone on the bottom six get a goal. It was just good to see a power play get a goal. Honestly, Maroon's a big guy in front of the net. Seems to get those goals every now and then. So Jake, I know you're fired up about the Carolina game, so I'm hoping this game was a little calmer for you because we did get the win. We did take it to overtime, and I think overall we played a really solid game of hockey.
Oh, I thought the Lightning played fantastic in this game. This was a very entertaining game. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Obviously, it always helps to get the win. It always makes things a little bit better. But the Lightning got off to a really good start. They went up 2-0 in this period. Now, unfortunately, Florida was able to come back and tie the game. But we all knew coming into this, the Panthers being one of the best teams in the NHL, on a little bit of a losing streak, but they were still a very, very good hockey team. And the Lightning came in and they took care of business. They played the Panthers very well. They looked like the mold selves. They were 1 for 1 on the power play, which is awesome. They were able to convert there. I believe it was the second unit that scored as well. It was Pat Maroon who's on the second unit. So it was nice to see them getting involved on the power play. So, that was really good to see. And then that overtime obviously was so entertaining. A 3-on-3 overtime has been one of the best things that the NHL has added in recent years. I mean, the save from Andre Vasilevsky, who was able to do a full split, and he had his eyes closed as he stretched across and somehow made that save. I don't know how he did it. It was unbelievable. I actually there was a poll up on the Bolt Report where we asked, which save was better, the Vasi behind the back against the Kings or the split save against Florida? And a lot of people actually ended up saying that the behind the back save was better, which I would probably tend to agree with. But I just remember sitting there just in shock when he made that save. And then shout out to Palat too, who made an excellent play to steal that puck in the Lightning's own zone and then be able to recognize and see that Braden Point was behind the defense and made a beautiful pass. I mean, I don't think many people realize how that's not an easy pass to make, to go basically halfway across the ice, and he put it right on the tape for Braden Point, who was able to walk down on a breakaway. And he's one of the best in the business when it comes to breakaways. And he put it home and gave the Lightning a very much needed, exciting victory in overtime against the Panthers.
Yeah, and you talk about Point, man. When he gets in the open ice, man, you almost know it's gonna be a goal. So that excitement, that adrenaline rush starts to come when you see Point on a breakaway, and you can feel it coming. And man, he puts it in the goal, back of the net. Man, I'd say almost 90% of the time, when Point gets it on those, it's going in. And he was able to get us the game winner, which was huge. Tough game against Florida. We played really well, so 2 points there, big 2 points there actually. And then last night we had a big game against the Islanders. Man, Lightning looked really, really, really good against New York last night. I think from start to finish, this is one of the better games we have had overall. We really seemed to dominate on the forecheck. We had a ton of good shooting opportunities. We had 28 shots on goal last night. The power play was 1 for 4, so I'll take it. I believe we moved up to 17th in the league, if I'm not mistaken, on the power play now. So we were 22nd last week when we talked. So starting to get a little things going here and there. I'll take a goal here and there. It's better than going 0 for 3. I'd like to get 2 power play goals a game if we're getting 4 chances, but I'll take any progress in the right direction, which I think the Bolts are doing right now with the power play. Just overall, last night was a fun game. Maroon and Chara fighting. Cirelli standing up and getting in his face. Man, Cirelli really went after Chara last night. That was pretty funny. Standing up for his boys, after taking a cheap shot from Brock Nelson. So Jake, how are you feeling after this Islanders game? I think the team looked really good. I think we were settled in, and I think Vasi was definitely locked in, and we were able to get this win last night.
Yeah, this was just an overall good performance from the Lightning. They kind of played well the entire game. You mentioned Cirelli having a really good game. Matthew Joseph was finally able to get on the board. Good for him. I know he's had a lot of shorthanded opportunities that he has been able to put in the back of the net. He had that one goal that we talked about earlier, taken away off that Stamkos goaltender interference. So good for him to get on the board. And then Braden Point, obviously, again, was stellar in this game, as he always is. But this was just a great game overall for the Bolts. Even though they were only 1 for 4 on the power play, they still got at least one power play goal in there, which is good to kind of keep that momentum up. And this was a really solid win overall, I think. You mentioned the fight from Maroon and Chara right off the drop. And I'll tell you what was most impressive to me about this game was, Matthew Barzal gets that early goal for the Islanders, and you're thinking, oh no, this is going to be one of those games where the Lightning struggled. The Islanders got the momentum right now, but the Lightning did a fantastic job of responding right away. I mean, they tied that up just about under a minute later. So very quickly, they tied that game right back up and then took control from there on out. So really good job by the Lightning in this game to make sure things didn't get out of hand. And they played a pretty solid game overall.
Yeah, and this was a tough gauntlet, like we talked about. These are 3 playoff teams from last year, and the Lightning overall looked really good against these 3 teams, man. Like we were a goal away from beating Carolina, and had that bad call not happened, we probably would have beat Carolina. So to get the points we did, I'll take it. This was a tough stretch. The Lightning looked really, I don't want to say, I guess good. I would say improved. We look improved in these past 3 games. We have improved from where we were. I think we had improved the week before. So I think we're kind of getting back to where we need to be sitting in the standings. I think the team's finally coming together. Obviously one guy who I want to take a second to give a quick shout out to is, how about Steven Stamkos this year, man? 8 goals, 16 points. He's leading the team. He's taking charge. He looks like he's really feeling it out there. He is. He looks healthy. He looks fast. He seems to be skating really well, intelligently on the ice, making good plays, good decisions. I think he's really stepped up into that captain leader role this year with Cooch being out. So I could only imagine the damage we'd be doing with a healthy Stamkos and a healthy Cooch right now with a full season. So how are you feeling about Stamkos this year, Jake? Are you on board? Do you think this continues the rest of the year? Does he look determined or what?
Absolutely. He is on like I said, a mission right now. I think part of that is a lot of people have been talking about how he's had a lot of injuries to deal with. And a lot of people think that he hasn't made a large contribution to these last couple of Stanley Cup wins, even though that's just ridiculous and it's not true. But and he also wants to make sure he makes a statement by making the Canadian Olympic team. A lot of people were talking about, does Stamkos even get a shot at the Canadian Olympic roster because there's so many good Canadian forwards that can beat him. And unfortunately, Stamkos hasn't had the opportunity to represent his country, whether it's due to injuries or the NHL not participating in the Olympics. And he has made a statement this year and said, hey, I'm still here. I am still playing in my prime right now, and I am not going anywhere, which is obviously fantastic to see as a Lightning fan. I have been loving every second of it. Steven Stamkos is a fantastic leader and has been for many years, but to see him also playing at a high level like he used to is fantastic. So really, really good for him. I've been loving the way he plays, and there's no reason to think it stops now.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder if the people who said trade Stamkos are the same ones that said fire Cooper. I think they rolled together and roll in the same crowd, because that would have been just ludicrous to trade away Stamkos.
Where are those people at? Trade Stamkos. Where are they?
They're quiet, man. They're on the Cooper bus, sitting way in the back, because
waiting for Stamkos to get hurt. That's what they're doing.
Yep, probably right.
Well, hang on. I need to knock on wood right now to make sure that I didn't jinx that.
You're probably right, man. I mean, the negativity sometimes is funny from people that say that kind of thing, because he can't help that he gets hurt. He's still one of the best players in the world. Like he can be the leading goal scorer in the league if he stays healthy. And he's the Stamkos of old, man. Like, he's a really dangerous player when he's on the ice when he's healthy. So I think people just need to understand, man, your body
Yeah.
he can't help it. He can't help his injuries. It's not his fault. So trading him
Well,
away would just be ludicrous.
and forget, just the goal scoring ability, but his leadership role. I mean, I
Right.
don't think people understand how important that is in the locker room sometimes. I mean, heck, look at when he was out in that Stanley Cup run, the first run of the back-to-back, where he didn't have to be in that bubble. He could have gone home. He didn't have to be there because they knew he wasn't. I mean, he ended up coming back for one game, as we all know, but he stayed with the team and was a huge part of the locker room presence, and it gave a huge confidence boost to those guys playing, especially when Stamkos finally came out and got the chance to play for that one shift. But he didn't have to be there for that, but he is a huge leader. So even when he's not playing, he's still making a large impact on this team.
Yeah, and he's got to be there to bring these younger guys, up to speed and keep them pumped, and don't let them get down when we're down 2-0 or 3-0, because anything's possible in hockey. 2-0 goal in hockey is the most dangerous lead you can almost have in any sport, because most of the time someone's going to come back on you. So I think some guy like Stamkos to lead guys like Colton and Joseph, who Joseph's had a really good year this year so far. I think it's huge to have a guy like Stamkos on the bench. You need that type of leadership, and
Absolutely.
I'm happy for the captain. I really am. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to him. He's our captain, man. We got to stick behind him, especially with a guy like Cooch being out. So we'll take a look around the league here real quick. The Lightning now have we've had points in our past 8 games, which is awesome. Unfortunately, a couple of them are overtime losses, but like we say, a point is a point. Don't ever forget that. A point is a point in the NHL. It all adds up at the end of the season. Rather get a point than no point. So, we've been playing really well. Sitting at third in the Atlantic right now, 8-3-3, 19 points. We could almost be on a 6-game win streak, really, if we didn't lose that Carolina game. So we're looking really good. We're looking back to form right now. I think things are settling in. I think the lines are getting going. Obviously, injuries happen. So I think if we could get Chernak back here within this next week, stay healthy, keep playing the way we're playing, look forward to getting Cooch back here in a couple months. I think we got a really good shot, man. Making some noise in the playoffs. So anything standing out to you around the league, Jake? One thing that stands out to me that we were kind of talking about was, this isn't the West Coast, but Anaheim, 7 straight wins for the Ducks, man. I mean, that's not everything you hear from the Ducks lately, but 7 straight for the Ducks. I think they have the longest win streak going in the league. So anything really standing out to you in the league right now?
Well, to quickly jump on what you're talking about with the Lightning, they look great. They're on, as you mentioned, that point streak, the 8-game point streak, which is really nice. And not only are they in third place in their division, but they've also played on the bottom end of games played. Most teams are 13, 14. Everybody else is like 15, 16. So they have a lot of games in hand at the teams in front of them as well. So they can easily catch Toronto and Florida right now. And not that, winning the division is the most important thing. Obviously, it's always nice to get home ice, but the Lightning are sitting in a great spot right now, especially with the way they're playing. But as for the rest of the league, Anaheim, they've been playing really well as of late. So they're sitting in second in their division, which is pretty impressive for them. It's interesting to see Arizona too, who is not having a good year this year. I know a lot of people thought that was going to be Buffalo again. Buffalo's kind of fallen back off to where we expect them to be, but Arizona, man, they're struggling even more. And then obviously Seattle, this is the expansion team you expect at the first year, right? Mm-hmm. This is what we expected Vegas to be when they had joined the league, but they were the outliers. Which, by the way, I don't think we talked about this last time. Vegas acquired Jack Eichel in a huge trade with Buffalo, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects Buffalo as they get. I believe it was who was it? It was Mark Stone, I believe. That they got, but that's going to be interesting to see how things affect that for Buffalo and for Vegas with the 2 big names moving to either side. And Vegas is going to have a lot of cap situation to deal with when everybody comes back from long-term injured reserve. They are going to have some cap issues that they're going to have to address. And I'm going to laugh very hard if one of these players comes back during the playoffs and they are over the cap. So we'll see where those people are talking about Vegas, if that's the situation.
That would be pretty funny. Then we could, talk about another team instead of our team being over the cap in the playoffs. So, as we move forward here to these next 3 games, we do have the Flyers on Thursday night, and then we have a back-to-back coming up. Saturday against the Devils, then Sunday against the Wild. So we can't overlook any of these teams. You got to think Elliott's probably going to start maybe against the Devils, and I would think Vassy would get the nod against the Wild. Although the Devils have been playing pretty well this year too, so this is another tough stretch. We got a home game against Philly, and then 2 on the road, and the Devils and the Wild. So back-to-backs can be tough. It's going to be a test for us for sure. Gonna have to see what Elliott's made of again here in one of these games. So anything that stands out to you in these next 3 games, Jake? Is there anything that we should be worried about?
Yeah, well, I want to make a quick correction on myself too. It was Alex Tuck that was traded from Vegas to Buffalo, but yeah, Vassy was said that it looks like he's going to get the start against Philly on this quick 1-game road trip, and then obviously, as you mentioned, back-to-backs are always tough for any team, so that definitely means we're going to see Brian Elliott in one of those games. It'll be interesting to see how Cooper handles that and which one these goaltenders get, but listen, the Lightning are playing well right now. If they can continue to do what they're doing right now, there's no reason they should be able to beat these teams. So hopefully they can continue this hot streak that they're on, even if it is, just extending that point streak as well. That's one of the most important things, as we talked about earlier. None of these teams are to be taken lightly, as you mentioned. It doesn't matter who you're playing in the NHL. These are paid professionals that you're going up against. So you cannot take these guys lightly.
And hopefully we're talking about another big win streak coming into next week's show. So that's all I had for tonight. I want to give a shout out to the listeners and our followers. We're at RBLR Sports on all platforms, social media, Facebook, YouTube, Stitch, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube. Drop a like, drop a comment. Let us know what you want to hear. Shoot us some questions. We'll feel free to answer all of them for you. It's been some good hockey lately, so I'm hoping everybody stays tuned in. I'm hoping this is the Lightning team everybody wanted to see. Like I said, it's going to take time for this team to settle in and get things going, but looks like we're on the right path now. So hoping next time we talk, we're on a big win streak. So I'm going to give you the final word. Jake, go ahead and take us home, man.
You nailed it on the head, man. I'm excited to see the Lightning continue this streak. They've been playing really well. Let's hope it continues as we climb back up in the standings and get to our full form, even still without Nikita Kucherov right now. Hopefully he's continuing his recovery. Can't wait to see him back on the ice for the Lightning. So looking forward to the next couple of games. Go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.